गणपतये नमः। ॐ गणपतये नमः। वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। ॐ गणपतये नमः।
जय धारिमा, आप सबको भी वेलकम यू very very warmly. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
How are you?
Very well. So feeling very nice. You and I are from Pune, so I'm kind of feeling lovely about that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good evening, Praveen, sir. Good evening, Mami. Gratitude. Welcome you very, very warmly, and welcome to India and Maharashtra and Pune and our hearts. And you're a very happy educator, and it's so lovely to see you. And I think we're going to be sharing that energy and the true meaning of education, sir. What is the true meaning of education in schools and colleges and institutes? We need to figure that out.
I think we're all still searching for that, and unfortunately, the more the times change, the harder it's to find. You know.
Yes, sir. But we're trying, sir. So mindful
Yes.
parenting is a little gentle effort. Ji, Mummy.
Yes.
Please, Ji, Mummy.
Go ahead. We were looking forward to listening to Mr. Loslin.
So, first of all, I just want to thank all of you for welcoming me to this discussion. You know, I have only been here in India for 4 months, but that is long enough for me to recognize what an esteemed group of individuals I'm joining here today, and I am sincerely honored to be invited, so thank you. And I expect to learn a lot in the next 60 minutes, and I expect that it won't just be me holding forth. I hope to hear from you and get your advice as we go, okay? And the reason for that is because, secondly, I need to openly admit, I am not a specialist in parenting. My 28-year-old daughter would be the first to endorse that statement, okay? We are all works in progress as parents, no matter how old we are, right? I don't have a degree in the field of parenting. I haven't done any formal research in that area, and I certainly have not written a book on the subject with that title as you have, Ajaya, all right? But suffice to say, I've been an educator for over 35 years in a range of continents and countries, in the US, in France, in Singapore, Australia, England, Japan, Hong Kong, Qatar, and now, thankfully, here in India. And in all those diverse cultures, with all the differences, and the differences both in formats and conditions of education, and frankly, in some cultural parenting styles. There are two strong consistencies that I've noticed. And the first is that the children don't need parents who are perfect. They need parents who are present. And I know that sounds like a simple cliche, but the second point I've learned is that it is harder than ever in today's world to be present as a parent. And while I'm starting with two very reductive premises, just be present, don't be perfect, but then try being present in a world that keeps distracting you and your children, that's what I'd like to just touch upon today. Because I think we all know the social pressures at play that distract both parents and children are growing stronger and stronger with every generation. And I bet every one of us longingly and nostalgically think about and have said to our own children, oh, when I was a boy, or when I was a girl, when I was a child. And yes, we're looking at our past through rosy glasses and with shades of nostalgia, but frankly, it was easier for us as children then. I don't know if it was easier for parents, but parenting today requires a few basic things. And I just want to hit upon a few points. One, how do we as parents slow down in a fast, high pressure world? Children are growing up in a high stimulus, high expectation environment, and we don't control that environment as parents. What they need most is not parents who move faster, but parents who are there and can slow the emotional pace of that world. Now, at our school, at Heritage International Experiential School, we believe that familiar and familial rhythms, routines, and rituals, both at home and in school, can bring predictability and therefore a degree of safety and stability for children. These are almost invaluable moments, if you will, of predictable presence, something they can count on, no uncertainty. And, I suspect from the little time I've been here, that's more prominent in Indian culture than any of the other cultures I've been in. I've been so impressed by the Indian culture of extended families, where children are in the care of grandparents and great-grandparents, where celebrations and festivities and festivals like Deepavali, but also countless others. By the way, India, you do a very good job at multiple festivals. But those are all moments where families gather and where children are seeing rituals and slowing in the rhythms. And I really have been impressed by that in the short time I've been here. So that's one thing, is slowing down the pace. The other is a little bit more challenging, and that's demonstrating to our children that in this high achieving community of society, less can be more, and going slow can be better than going fast. I don't know how we help our children to declutter their lives and also declutter our own. How we provide children with fewer things that lead to deep interactions and engagement, rather than many things that provide superficial distractions. And I don't need to lecture you on how, even as adults, we're bombarded by the distractions of social media and television and noise, and how children are infinitely more vulnerable to those influences. So if society is doing so much to hasten our children toward adolescence and ultimately toward adulthood, I just wonder what we as parents and as educators can do to get them live in the present, to get them to cherish childhood and celebrate childhood rather than push them towards growing up, which frankly, granted, as children, we were always pushed along. I understand that. And finally, and furthermore, maybe parents can model resistance to society's pressures to conform. by the way, don't get me wrong. I know that I'm dreaming. I know that I'm being highly idealistic, but why not? You know, that in this world that seeks conformity, that says you must achieve this, you must be that, you must do this, to be able to celebrate the uniqueness of each child and emphasize how it's important to recognize and appreciate their true unique nature of every child, that's invaluable. And that's to celebrate their strengths and also to recognize and admit where their weaknesses are, but get them to stretch themselves in those areas. It would be nice to help children resist the comparison to other children, you know, and whether that be in sport or league tables or whatever, to be themselves to their full potential. And maybe parents, even in this condition, can help to promote independence and resilience. What I mean by that is giving them small chores to big things to do on their own rather than hovering to get them done perfectly. And I know that you probably discussed this appetite for perfection in previous sessions, but if we're giving them the independence and opportunities to problem solve on their own, to make decisions and take risks on their own, obviously with scaffolding and support. If we permit them to experience setbacks and, dare I say, even failures that can be treasured as teachable moments with parents who are present, then that makes a big difference. In short, I guess all I would say is we all know that the world is full of pressure. We all know that parental absence increases the pressure and presence softens that pressure. And frankly, I believe it softens it both for children and parents. But again, I know I'm being idealistic. I know that while the items that I've just mentioned make absolute common sense, sadly, in today's real world, the real world isn't very kind to common sense, sadly. And I'm not trying to end this on a pessimistic note, but as we were chatting about before we started, if we could dig deep to be more idealistic, if we could dig deep to take the risks beyond the common towards the common sense, maybe that's a starting point. So I'll stop rambling on there, but those are my initial observations.
Thank you, sir. Blessed, sir. Sir, just want to share a little post I saw. And I read something. A child goes for an outing with the parents and does not like it. And they come back after a long day, and it all happens. The parents are doing whatever they want to do, and they come back. And the child tells the parents, "You just deleted 2 hours of my time.
Oh my.
You just deleted 2 hours of my time," because the
Oh
parents are
my.
trying to ask, "How did you like it?" So you
my.
deleted 2 hours of my time. I did not know what to think, to laugh or cry.
Wow.
So, what do you think? Deleted 2 hours of my time.
Do you know, I joked earlier about my daughter. I probably deleted years of her life, you know, when you think about it in that sense. But obviously I didn't. And I don't think she was thinking that. My wife and I, in all of our travels, she came with us to very, very diverse places, you know, in Vietnam, in Turkey, in Cyprus, across Europe, in the US. And those were endless hours of driving. And we all know that when you're driving and your teenage daughter is in the back with headphones on, staring out the window. Oh my gosh, I hope she doesn't ever hear this podcast, but please don't share it with her. I won't. Staring out the window, looking terribly bored. Every once in a while, seeing something catch her eye and see her go and stare and think, something registered. So maybe I deleted a few hours, but maybe she uploaded a few invaluable minutes from that. And look, I don't know. No, I do know. I'm going to take a risk. I know she appreciates it now. I know that she's of an age at 28 where she knows that she's had experiences that we pigeonholed and created space and time to be present with her. And I think she appreciates it now. But boy, that's hard to do as a parent then. When they're pouting, when they're, sulking, when they're plugged into their devices, it doesn't mean that you're still not present and they don't recognize it. But it's hard to stick it out sometimes.
Yes.
Mr. Lawless, can I ask a question, Saina?
Please.
Sure.
How much time are you observing are the Indian parents in your school spending time with their children?
Well, that's a loaded question for one reason. Our school here has not opened yet. It's opening in July. But I can speak for our sister school in Gurgaon. Our schools in Gurgaon, I can't give the specific hours, but I know that our HIXS schools are really dedicated to parent-school partnerships. So I know that the school actively encourages and has events where parents come in and co-participate in educational activities. And as a matter of fact, the schools have usually have a parents' lounge or a coffee shop where they can be there on site and on campus. But outside of the school day, I don't have a really solid answer on that. I don't know if there's been any surveys about how much time parents actually spend with their child. So I'm gonna have to, I don't want to venture a guess, doctor, I'm sorry. But I would ask you, what do you think the average Indian parent is the amount of time they're spending with their child and engaging with their child? Teach me as a newcomer.
In my experience, it's all dependent on the way the school plans the day of the child.
Mhm.
If you're leaving him time for the evening and you're timing your school dispersal with the arrival time of their parents, you're giving the child time. But if you are with the parents,
Sure.
if you are sending the child away by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock and with a lot of loaded homework, right? And with the pressure of an exam the next day, when the parents turn up by 7 or 8 o'clock in these days, working parents,
Yeah.
where is the time he has?
Could not agree more. We know that there's a kind of a teach less, learn more approach, okay? In terms of, as you say, workload, especially come on, the children to have time and space to be children at home with their parents. I think our school and most good schools are dedicated to creating that space, because that space where they fulfill their own potential as individuals, not just their academic potential. But I sincerely don't know what that child's life yet is like with additional responsibilities beyond school. Are they taking music lessons? Are they doing, are they going to Marathi lessons or other, math tutors, and so, are they in sporting clubs and things like that? And obviously all those things are important, but are those reinforcements to the identity or distractions to the parent-child relationship? I don't know. I really don't know yet.
Most parents, even when I'm relating to them on day-to-day basis, where both the parents are working, I wanted to talk to a child, a young child. I wanted to do a video call and meet the young child, talk to the young child. And the mother really was trying to look for a few minutes. there was no time till Sunday.
Yeah.
There was no time till Sunday.
Yeah.
And the mother also gets back by 6 o'clock. The father gets back by 7:30 after school, and a very hardworking family. After school, the child has English classes, karate classes, kickboxing classes. She's good in that. Music, a few more. A few minutes I wanted. And the mother was keen on talking and interacting. Sunday, a few minutes.
Wow.
But presence, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Presence, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sir, are we teaching our children to adapt to the energy of the world, or are we teaching our children to add to the energy of the world?
My gut reaction is if we define adaptation of conforming or controlling, I fear that I know that our school is about creating resilient, self-regulated, and independent learners and thinkers who, as they adapt, they make sure that they're not necessarily succumbing to the world. Do you know what I mean? The strength to resist and the pressure, the social and peer pressure that we all know is out there to be who they are and do what they want to do, versus, you know, the drive to say, you know what, I know that I have to compromise. You know, that there are some things that, let's be realistic, in life that we can't all pursue our dreams independently of reality. But I hope what you're talking about is adaptation, is to take that dream, take that strength and that identity and contextualize it for success in their current context. You know, I guess it's the old change the things you can, accept the things you can't, and learn to know the difference, right? But boy, I hope they have the strength to fight the things they can't too once in a while, because that's the only way they find out whether they can or not, you know?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ajay sir, would you like
Okay.
to share your thoughts? Sir?
It's a privilege to have you with us today, Mr. Edward.
It's my
I
privilege.
truly admire how your school blends experiential learning with emotional intelligence, creating not just good students, but compassionate, curious, and grounded human beings. In our book, Mindful Parenting, co authored by uh, Praveen, my friend, we often speak about seeing the child not as a project to be completed, but as a person to be understood. I
Yes.
find that philosophy reflected in your vision for experiential and purpose driven education. You have built schools that focus on helping children confront who they truly are. That's really rare and powerful.
Thank
I still remember during my childhood growing up, my father had one simple rule in our home. No matter how busy the day was, we all had to sit at the dining table and eat together.
you. Yes.
Those dinners were not just about food, they were about conversations, sharing small and big things that happened during the day. We didn't have smartphones then. I think we had just a TV, some the newspaper, some comics. That's all. We
Mhm.
spoke more, connected more, and learned more from each other.
Yeah.
Today, despite having more time-saving devices, we seems to have less time for conversations because we are constantly distracted by them. One
Yep.
small habit from my childhood, which may have looked ordinary or even silly at that time, unknowingly created a strong bond between parents and children.
Mhm.
From your experience, Mr. Edward, in this digital age, how can families recreate such meaningful connections at home? What small and powerful habits can parents adopt today to bring back genuine conversations with their children?
I think you've identified, and I mentioned earlier about rituals, and you just described the meal as a ritual, right?
True.
A common meal is a family ritual. And my family, it was every Sunday, it was a sit-down dinner. It was non-negotiable, as you say. And even when I think about it, when I was in my teens, like you, my father and I would maybe eat in the TV room because my mother would be working at nights, and he'd make dinner, but we'd take it downstairs to watch the baseball game. And I'd sit on the floor and he'd be in his chair, and we didn't talk much, but we were present with one another, and we were watching the same game, like watching a cricket match. Sometimes you don't talk much, but you're side by side, Now, I guess my answer would be to create those rituals at an early age where they're sacrosanct. In other words, it doesn't even enter the child's mind to say, this is not something I want to do anymore. I'm not saying to be a bully about it, but just it becomes so normal that they will miss it when it stops happening. And I'm thinking about that same thing for me. That the moment when you know that they're not there anymore. So a phone brought out on the table during a dinner, my father, if we had mobile phones there, would have just put his fork and knife down and stared at me. He just would have said, he wouldn't have had to say a word. He would have just stared at me. And I think that's also, a little bit the qualities I was just talking about. He didn't scold me. He didn't lecture me. He just was present in a different way. He just stared at me until I realized, oh, this is not the right thing to do. It's a little bit like indicating that you're being disrespectful to the other person's presence, a person who has created that space and time for you. And frankly, my daughter, my wife comes from a French culture. We had family dinner every night at the table. And she grew up knowing that every night was a sit-down night. And every night was a discussion, even into the teenage years. And you know what? I miss those moments, and I'm sure she does too. But I don't have a simple answer other than to ingrain those values and those rituals so early and be so consistent with them that you don't have to be a disciplinarian about them. Their power lies in the omission of the ritual, that it feels like a limb you've lost.
Okay.
So is there an option? Is this ritual to be created through our education system an option?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
How?
even in our schools, we start every day in Gurgaon and here in Pune. Every homeroom starts with a centering experience, traditional music, the lighting of a lamp, or a focus in the Indian culture of centering oneself. The homeroom teacher talks them through a mild meditative moment where they're becoming aware from top of their head to the bottom of their feet. And frankly, I'm talking about it as if I understand it. I've only been here for 4 months. I am so fortunate that we do that before every major meeting, because that means that the New Yorker in me gets put away for the next 45 minutes as I'm centered and I'm respecting a ritual where everybody's starting on the same page. You've washed yourself of all the worries, all the pressures, all the speed, and now you're in a time and space that belongs to the people that you're present with, not the 153 things on your mind that you need to get done, or the 200 emails that you haven't answered yet. So yeah, I do think
Is that before? Is that before? Is that before this class start of the class? Is
Yes,
that before us?
the beginning of every school day,
Assembly or an individual class?
individual class.
What nice. Lovely.
And that, I
Praveen,
guess, is the key to, you know, what attracted me to this job initially, I hate to admit it, was the fascinating dynamic and, let's face it, potential tension between those three words of heritage, international, and experiential. You don't often see the words heritage and international side by side. And I was really intrigued by the notion that this is a school and a culture and a community that knows that it needs children to grow up to be globally minded, but not for the sake, at the risk of losing their cultural heritage and identity. You know, and I think they make that balance very, very clear. And that simple ritual is a really good way of doing it.
Every class does that, Mr. Lawrence?
Yep. The homeroom classes in primary do that before they start, and in the secondary we'll do that as well when we grow to that. You know, those morning sessions where you're taking attendance and doing the morning announcements and all those basic rhythms in the secondary. Well, why not have a moment where you're making the most of that to start the day with a quiet space for self-awareness and self-focus and centering?
lovely, sir. Lovely. Praveen sir. Praveen sir. Ji.
Sure. So thank you so much, Sanaji. And so, Mr. Edward, it was great to listen to you. So I think a few weeks back, so Ms. Micah Crosschild, so my friend and the director of Finland 2030, so I think she listened to you at the TIC conference in Goa. And she told me, like, you know, when I was introducing this program to her, she was telling me, like, we should invite you so and listen to you because you have very clear thoughts and you put it forward in the most articulative manner. So I think, so I thank Mike very much. So for referring your name to be part of this program, thank you so much. And listening to you, yeah, listening to you is like very interesting, especially one key point I want to take from whatever you spoke now. Of course, all the points are very key and important, but one very important point is, so to be present doesn't mean that you need to be in conversation. You know, because many times I have seen that the parents who would like to be with the, you know, who would like to be with the children, so they start some conversation, they initiate conversation, and then they may not be getting properly connected, or the child may be interested in something else, and they think, like, you know, it's not a good time to continue, so they move away, so from the conversation. So but still they can be present there, so without much level of conversation. So being there without a proper conversation is also a present. So that is a very important point, I think. So, like, you know, it can be watching movies, it can be watching sport, or it can be doing two different things, but still be present and be available for others. So that would be a very key point, or one very important point I want to take from whatever you spoke now. So during your, initial, introduction, I was listening to the number of countries you have worked so far, or you have been so far in different countries, different education systems. Obviously, I believe different curriculums as well. And it's very important to see that the school needs to be a facilitator, or that school also needs to be a facilitator for the parents, so to learn the kind of parenting or engagement kind of activities, because as we all know, a parent become a parent without any proper preparation, and there are no parenting school, so which is actually providing them with systematic understanding about parenting as well. So can you drive our attention to, or share with us, some of the best practices you have seen from different schools, where the schools are taking an initiative to support parents, or to elevate the level of parenting? May not be explicitly parenting, the initiatives taken by the school is actually, like, you know, tacitly influencing parents to come with something good. So can you share some of those experiences?
Wow, that is a really good question. And I was when you were getting to the end, I was trying to rack my brain, and sadly I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Sadly, there are a lot of let's just put it this way. There are a lot of schools that take a tick box approach to what you're talking about. In other words, they perform certain rudimentary, almost ceremonial, or kind of, dare I even say, superficial steps.
Yeah. Yeah.
School festivals where the parents are welcome, or parents' days on campus and things like that. And don't get me wrong, those are really, really important and really good. But I'm going to sound terribly cynical. I apologize. But look, oftentimes parents, the ones that do come to the school, let's be honest, aren't the ones who need to come to the school. You know what I mean? They're the ones who, they're already engaged with their children. The ones that aren't coming to the school are the ones that you want to see and want to talk to. They're not self-selecting. So how many times have I sat in big gyms for parent-teacher evenings for rows and rows, and knowing here's the same 20 parents coming to hear that their kids are doing great and getting well. But those 20 parents whose kids are really struggling, I've got to pick up the phone and reach out to them, and they don't want to necessarily get that call, right? But I'm trying to think. Yes, there have been communities, and I'll tell you one community and culture that I saw got it very, very right. When I was in Tokyo, the school group was called the Aoba School, and the Aoba School was an international baccalaureate school, and they always had a number of festivals that every parent seemed to attend, and they weren't just sports. They were, this sounds absurd, but karaoke and performances and games and, food stalls and everything like that. And what was nice was to see that when you're looking out over that crowd, you couldn't distinguish teacher from parent. They were all engaging with the children in the same way. You know what I mean? And if I may just flip it to another example in Australia. When I was in Australia, in Perth, at the Hale School, and at the surface, it looks like a very traditional Australian boys' school with footy and rugby and all those things. But it had really authentic parent engagement, and even in parent nights and parent evenings, those parents came in and wanted to ask the tough questions about their boys. And then they would always, of course, come in for sporting events, because sport was, cricket and Aussie rules and rugby. They were all in. But Australian parents, you could connect with them very, very easily, it seemed. And it was a culture where they were not, I got to be careful how I choose my words now. They weren't very defensive of their children. You know what I mean? Have you ever had parents who come in as if this is a conflict, and if you say one negative thing about my child, then I'm going to contradict it, and now we're going to debate? And I think that was a school where, and I hope most schools, where the conversation started with the premise where I would say to parents, hey, we're partners in this, and you know your kid much better than I do. So you start the conversation, and then I'll chime in, instead of a parent coming in and listening to a checklist of things that are quote unquote wrong about Daniel or Anthony. But I guess there were different cultures, had different elements of that. That was a really tough one. I'm sorry. I don't feel like I did it.
Sir, can this be a part of a beautiful training or a skill? Communication does not come naturally to everyone. Maybe the
No.
parent, maybe the teacher is very well meaning,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to put it across.
Yes.
And the parent takes it very personally,
Yeah.
because parenting is not a badge, but they take it very personally.
Yeah.
Everything done right by the child, they pat themselves on the back. I taught
Yeah.
them. And everything they do wrong, how could my child do this?
Yeah.
Where have I gone wrong?
Yeah.
Now, but the parent teacher meeting, I think, is one of the most important pillars of
Absolutely.
any school. Any school. We can skip a few things, but not parent teacher meeting.
Absolutely.
So, in such a, in just 2 hours, we are supposed to be meeting 50, a teacher is supposed to be meeting 50 families. It's not possible, sir.
No. No.
You need
And
to
you know what?
connect.
It's an isolated moment in what should be a long-term dialogue and partnership. And
Yes.
if they're coming to the table as co-learners and collaborators in that
Yes.
child's best interest, that's the fundamental premise. I will never forget in Singapore, there was one mother who everybody dreaded, and she was making a path through every teacher and leaving them in tatters, you know, with the finger wagging. And she came to me, and before she could start, I said, "Ma'am, I have tried everything. What is your advice?" I said, "I have tried everything in my professional capacity in your son's best interests, and I don't think I'm getting it right. What are the buttons that you think I should be pushing?" And she started crying
Yeah.
because she then looked at me and said, "I've been looking for them for 18 years." So
Yes.
those are those moments where, the partnership, it's hard to break down those walls of defense. I don't know. Maybe it starts with the admissions department, where you say, when you enter this school, you're entering a partnership. This isn't a service industry. This is a co-service. And if you think this is a one-way transaction, this is not going to be very productive.
Yeah.
But again, I may be talking out of turn, because maybe that's not a message that resonates in the Indian parent culture. So maybe you should delete that for the sake of my admissions department. But I don't know. I really don't know. That's what I'm accustomed to doing. Authentic partnerships in the best interest of the child.
Hmm.
Another very strong worry is that whatever is shared in the parent teacher meeting has to stay there.
Oh, yeah.
Now, another problem that I am seeing, who do you trust?
Mhm.
Who do you trust with your child's most personal habits,
Yeah.
events at home, concerns? Who do you trust with your what's happening at home? How do you know the teacher is not going to go announce it on a WhatsApp group?
Oh,
How do you know the teacher is not going to just change the name and say, you know, there is this family, and there is this child, and people can put two and two together, and it makes life so much more difficult for the child the next day. So, what do you do? Our society needs to be extremely sensitive and caring towards all children.
mhm.
All children, sir. Not just your own child, all
Oh,
children.
absolutely. Absolutely.
A
And
mother goes and hurts another mother.
yeah,
It
yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. Sometimes I wonder, I want to ask the teacher, are you not a mother? Would you like it if the same thing was happening to you or your child? Don't you go for a PTM to another school for your child? So then I am not called again sometimes, but I have to say this.
Do you know
So
what you're saying is entirely foreign to me? I have to admit it. I do not come from a professional culture
yes,
where that is even conceivable.
yes,
So I have to admit to being a little flabbergasted by what you just shared. Now, maybe I'm very naive and new to the Indian parenting and school culture, and maybe I have a lot to learn in that sense. But I have to tell you, I have never been in an educational community in all of those places I've just described where the sanctity of that parent student teacher relationship has ever been breached, ever. And so it's really hard for me to respond to that because in all of the countries that I just listed that I've lived in, I've never heard of that phenomenon. And now I'm going back to my team and thinking with that piece of advice, when we're recruiting and training and onboarding our teachers,
yes,
when we're building our culture and community of practice,
yes,
what are the values and principles that are sacrosanct and that we know are non-negotiable? You know, my father once told me in terms of values and principles, the person you really are is the person you are when nobody's looking.
yes,
And you just described a challenge, which is WhatsApp groups or social media, which provides the mask of anonymity. And anonymity, sadly, is the cloak that allows people to be who they really are in public without even recognizing to themselves who they're being. So look, all I can say is I've never been in a school where that type of behavior has existed. I would never be in a school where that was tolerated. And I certainly would not lead a school where that could happen. I would do everything possible, as you described, through the recruitment and admission and training and induction of all those parties to make sure that those values are sacrosanct.
so that's the answer. That's the answer, sir, that you've never witnessed this. That's the answer.
Yeah.
When Dr. Bedi asked you about, Praveenji asked you about, schools all over the world, that's the answer, sir.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
this needs to change in our system.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
have to admit, this needs to change in our system. And so kind of you that you have taken a note of this, because this is very crucial for our children. Our children need to feel safe talking.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've also seen children telling their parents, please don't go for the PTM. And don't say this. And make
Yeah.
sure, the husband telling the wife, make sure you don't talk too much and you don't share too much. And the wife telling the husband that don't say this about your boy
Yeah.
or about what's happening at home.
Yeah. And I
That
come
kind of,
from an entirely different international school culture. I have to admit, one of the most powerful and confusing moments for me as a school leader was when I won't mention what country I was in, but the parents of a teenage boy came to me and said, Mr. Lawless, I really don't know what to do with my son. I've tried everything, and he was bearing his soul. He was a child psychologist.
yes,
I was a 35-year-old who did not have, I wasn't even a father yet. And I was sitting there realizing, wow, a child psychologist is coming to me asking for my help and advice. And of course, we had a very fruitful, very constructive, strategic discussion. And of course, the hard part of those discussions is teetering from the subjective to the objective. Do you know what I mean? Giving a
yes,
giving a professional opinion and support while you're dealing with an adult who's on the verge of tears. and frankly, you know, the outcome of that, fortunately, was very, very good. But that is my normal. Do you know what I mean? And
Yes,
that's
sir.
why it's really hard for me to even compute what you're saying.
What I'm saying. So when it comes to your own child, there are no easy answers. There are
Yeah,
no easy answers. So when it
yeah,
comes to your own parenting and your own child, Ji, mommy,
yeah.
Ji.
Mr. Lawless, do you have factored in or structured isolated moment time with teacher students? Do you factor it? Do you structure it?
Yes.
Or do you, it just happens?
Both. I'd put it this way. I know that our classrooms are set up so that, and the school day is set up, especially in the primary, where there's moments of discovery. So there's obviously periods of instruction, but also there's periods of exploration and discovery. And those discovery moments, that's where a teacher is reading the room and reading, okay, if you have 3 or 4 students working and collaborating together in a spontaneous or a planned discovery, that's fine. Maybe I don't need to be over there. If you have another who might be a little bit more adrift, and of course, years of experience and training, you have the antennae for this, right? To know who is the student who needs one-on-one time right now. So, in my opinion, that's being receptive to opportunities for that one-to-one support. But there are also times where you need to create those opportunities, you know, where you
Yeah.
need to say, you know what, you look like you're okay, but let's have a one-to-one to make time to just do a little inquiry. Now that's not challenging, it's not psychoanalysis, but that's just being present on a one-to-one scale rather than a one-to-many. Do you know what I mean? So it's about making opportunities and taking opportunities to have that student-centered relationship.
That's intuitive. Yeah, that's like intuitive observation,
Yeah,
experienced intuitive observation. I've just
absolutely.
little one more curiosity. Do you have as a school system identify the class teacher identifies who are the children in her class or his class having a tutor at home, tuitioning at home?
We have not made a decision whether we do that formally. Now, you mean, do they figure it out or do we
Yeah,
capture it for ourselves?
yeah, capture it and also figure out that,
Do you
and
know?
then identify why.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
is he having a tutor at home? Because that
yeah.
eats into parents' time. You see, a tutor at home is actually taking away the child's time with the parents.
I couldn't agree more. When I was in Singapore, that was a strong tuition culture, right? Where, you know, and in Hong Kong as well, they go to school and they come home and they keep going to school in private tuition. And in Singapore, when I was there with United World College, we would either officially or unofficially find out who's getting tutored. And then you could sense, and you'd almost counsel the parent, well, why? You know, what is the actual tutor giving that he's not getting in school?
Class.
Sadly, 9 times out of 10, he's getting the rote learning and memorization that's only going to help towards an examination, not towards the skills, dispositions, and aptitudes that are required for real life or for real success in the school. And the short answer is, I don't know whether we'll formally or informally. Informally, of course, we'll find out. And informally, you can gather from my response, we would rather our parents are making space to be present at home and be teachers in their own right than delete that space, to use that child's term, and outsource presence to somebody else who's giving lessons that are probably not relevant to the outcome of that student's future.
So that means at the admission style or as a part of the school culture, when the child is being admitted, can the parents not be sounded that this is one of the part of the culture of the school that if
Absolutely.
you are hiring a tutor, you shall inform the class teacher?
That's a very good idea, Doctor. I don't know how many parents I can say shall to, but I can try, if you know what I mean. In other words, I think that's a really important question and statement to make at the admissions level. We've already talked about this to make sure that, and I know that Conrad Bota, our head of primary school, and Viveki Pasta, who's our PYP coordinator, they do individual getting to know you meetings with parents at admissions. Okay. Those are not interviews and examinations to see whether, that's to say, hey, in a soft and cordial way, this is who we are. We want you to learn who we are. We want to learn who you are and make sure it's a good fit. It's important to be transparent about our pedagogy and our expectations. Let's put it this way. If you're saying that you're going to be an experiential school, and let's be honest, that means very progressive teaching and learning practices. And if you have a parent who comes in expecting or saying, yes, I want something progressive, yes, I want something progressive, and then 6 months later says, why hasn't he taken a test every week? Why doesn't he have 3 hours of homework every night?
Yeah.
Why isn't he studying out of a textbook every day? Do you know what I mean? It's about the right match. And I cannot say enough about the importance of that parent-school partnership. I really
Beautiful.
can.
Beautiful. It's about the right match. So, Ajay sir, Praveen sir, your thoughts. Sir, that's beautiful. It's about the right match. It's so well said. The parent and the teacher, it's about the right match. Yes, sir. Ajay sir.
Yeah, that's true. Today's conversation reinforces a truth we often overlook. Parenting is not about controlling outcomes, but about creating environments where children can think, feel, question, and grow. Whether it's a simple family habit like eating dinner together or something as modern as learning to use AI wisely, the core remains the same. Children learn through what we model, not just what we preach.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And when we talk about presence, and you can use the word proximity, it's important that parents don't give up. As you say, don't hound the child. Don't talk so that they put their headphones on. I remember how painful it was when my teenage daughter started closing her bedroom door. That's the sign where you go, okay,
Yeah.
we're at that next level. I didn't know it was going to come, but that doesn't mean you don't occasionally knock on the door and say, hey, everything good? And she goes, yeah. And there's no energy, there's no anger, there's just no, oh good, okay, close the door and go. And that's proximity. That's just, and sometimes, yeah, parents need to put themselves out there just to be rejected. I mean, think about how many times as adolescents we did that with our own parents, because it takes a while to forgive them for their own mortality, that they're mere mortals, they're not the gods that you thought they were when you were a child, But look, I think I really do appreciate the conversation, and I'm sorry, I feel like I've been talking about, culture and philosophy and values rather than pedagogical principles. And I'm certainly surrounded by people in my school who are much more competent at that. I've got a terrific team that's coming and in place. It's building those practices and building those conditions for children and parents in a collaborative learning space. But like children, like schools, like adults, we're all works in progress. And I appreciate the feedback that you guys are giving me today.
Sir, you've given us a lot of hope today, and your ideas are they touch the heart, and there's a lot of hope, and we're grateful for educators like you, sir. We're very grateful. Praveen, sir, why don't you close the program and share your thoughts? with sir.
Thank you so much. So it's like it was wonderful listening to Mr. Lawless, and whenever you say, it's like so you don't know, or you are new to the system, kind of things. So actually, so you, even before that and after that, you applies a bunch of wisdom,
Yes.
so you share a bunch of wisdom, and you still think something more need to be there, and that's the point when you say, like, so I may not be able to make another point. So that, I mean, your humility is superb, because even though multiple times you said, like, you're confused, you don't know, it's a new system, you're here for the last 4 months, you're just learning, but you spoke like a person lived in the country for 4 decades, and you understand. So,
Well,
and
thank you. I've spent with all the countries that I've changed, the different cultures I've been in, the one constant has been I have always been in way over my head and loving it. And the safety for the parents and children that I've worked with, I've always been surrounded by people who have all the answers when I should be responsible for asking the good questions, And so I think the important thing is we were just talking with our CEO and our team this morning about the importance of humility and compassion in school leadership. That those two variables, those two values, for me, are the cornerstones: humility and compassion.
Beautiful.
I understand.
So,
So,
Mr. Lawless, you came through a reference. Praveen mentioned you came through a reference. Would you like to offer a reference?
I will give a thought about that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
For our
won't
next
mention
program?
them now because it'll get them,
Be-
that'll put the pressure on, but definitely I'll give you a reference. Okay.
Yeah, just as you came as a reference, you can also give us a reference so that
Very
we can
good.
continue to take the program forward.
Happy to do that. And really would love to stay in touch with all of you because, as I said at the outset, again, having just read through your profiles and the real experience, insights, and the breadth of knowledge that's represented by these panelists here in these 4 boxes that I see before me, I would love to continue to learn and grow with you guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sir, I'll come and see you because I'm the one nearest.
Come down the street.
I'm
Come
the
down
one
the street.
nearest. Yes,
Lovely.
sir. I'll
All the
come and
best
see
to you.
Yeah.
Thank
Wish you
you.
wonderful
Very,
time ahead.
Thank
so
you very
happy.
much.
So
Thank you very
happy
much.
meeting you today, sir. So happy.
Lovely to
Thank
meet
you.
all of you.
Thank you.
Have a
Yes.
nice
Thank
evening.
you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jai
Bye.
Dharma. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Praveen. Thank you, Ajay, for
Thank
such a wonderful
you.
guest we had.
Yes.
Thank you.
Admirable. Admirable, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
We learned so much. Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.